Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're diving deep into one of the world's most complex and long-standing conflicts, the Israel-Palestine conflict. We'll explore why the conflict started, how it has escalated in recent times, and the crucial roles played by Iran, the USA, and other countries. Let's get started. To understand why the Israel-Palestine conflict began, we need to go back in history, long before the current crisis. The roots of the conflict lie in the early 20th century, particularly around the time of World War I, when the region was under Ottoman control and later fell under British rule. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. However, this plan led to a war in 1948 as Arabs rejected the partition. This was when the State of Israel was declared and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced, a moment known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic. Since then, the situation has spiraled into numerous wars, uprisings, and periods of intense violence, especially in territories like Gaza and the West Bank, which remain at the center of the conflict. Tensions flared again recently, leading to more bloodshed, protests, and international calls for peace. So why did things escalate so dramatically this time? While this conflict has religious, cultural, and historical roots, recent political and territorial issues have played a massive role. For instance, tensions in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, a site sacred to both Muslims and Jews, often trigger clashes. The situation becomes even more volatile when international actors step in. Let's break down their roles. The United States has been one of Israel's strongest allies since the 20th century. It provides Israel with significant military aid, which many argue gives Israel an upper hand in the conflict. America's support is rooted in several factors, from historical alliances and shared democratic values to influential lobbying within the US. However, the US approach hasn't been without controversy. Critics claim that US support for Israel often overshadows the Palestinian cause, making it harder for the US to act as an unbiased mediator. Despite some calls within the US for a balanced approach, the current government continues to back Israel with military and diplomatic support. On the other side, we have Iran. Iran doesn't recognize Israel and has been a long-standing supporter of Palestinian groups, including Hamas, which operates in Gaza. Iran provides these groups with financial support, weapons, and political backing, seeing them as a way to challenge Israel and, by extension, the US's influence in the region. Iran's involvement is strategic, as it aims to extend its influence across the Middle East, supporting any cause that opposes Western allies like Israel and the US. However, Iran's support to militant groups adds layers of complexity and often escalates violence rather than paving the way for a peaceful resolution. The involvement doesn't stop there. Many Middle Eastern countries play a role in this conflict, each with its own interests. Egypt, for instance, often acts as a mediator between Israel and Palestine due to its borders with Gaza. Saudi Arabia, a significant regional power, has historically backed the Palestinian cause but is also exploring diplomatic ties with Israel, primarily to counter Iran's influence. Turkey has been vocally supportive of Palestine and often criticizes Israeli actions, while also balancing its NATO alliances. Then there's the United Nations and European countries, which have repeatedly called for a two-state solution. But without any breakthrough, the situation remains tense. So, where does this leave us today? Currently, Israel and Hamas, a Palestinian militant group, are engaged in intense combat, with casualties on both sides. Civilians, including women and children, are suffering the most in this conflict, leading to global protests and international calls for a ceasefire. Each side holds deep-rooted grievances, making peace seem like a distant dream. The US, under global pressure, has suggested some mediation, but their continued support for Israel complicates matters. Meanwhile, Iran is increasing its support for Palestinian groups, leading to further military mobilization. In conclusion, the Israel-Palestine conflict is more than a local struggle. It's a global issue entangled with politics, religion, and history. The involvement of international players like the USA and Iran not only complicates the dynamics, but also fuels the cycles of violence. The road to peace requires dialogue, mutual recognition, and compromise. Difficult tasks, given the centuries of mistrust and repeated cycles of violence. But without a lasting solution, the region and the world will continue to witness the tragic consequences of this conflict. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and share. Let us know in the comments what you think the solution could be, or if there's anything you'd like us to cover in depth. Until next time, let's keep learning, questioning, and working toward understanding these complex issues together.